Hey, welcome to our next set of notes. This is going to be, we're jumping into multi-step inequality problems. Okay, so we're going to solve inequalities, multi-steps to get this done. I'm going to just get right into these notes because we have a lot to do and we have to graph each one. Okay, so make sure you read the directions for these inequalities. It says solve and graph. So this first one, what we're going to do is I have variable terms on both sides, constants on both sides. So I'm going to move all of my variable terms to one side, constants to the other. So I'm going to go ahead and start by adding 6m to both sides. Okay, so again, just a reminder, starting with the smaller of the two variable terms. When I do that, negative 3m plus 6m is 3m. Drop down negative 27, greater than or less than. Greater than or equal to. Negative 6m plus 6m is 0. We don't need to write that, and we'll drop down minus 6. And then I'll go ahead and move my constant terms to the other side. So I add 27 to both sides. I have 3m. Negative 27 plus 27, I don't write. Greater than or equal to, and then I have negative 6 plus 27 is 21. And so my answer, m, is greater than or equal to 7. Okay, so 3 times 7 is 21. So I'm going to go ahead and box that in. Then we're going to make our number line. So a reminder, draw a number line, 7 to the middle, 1 greater than, 1 less than. I have a closed circle, and it's m is greater than, so in the greater than direction over there. I'm going to highlight everything that's my solution. There we go. Number 2, okay, so again I have variable terms on both sides, constant terms on both sides. So it's the same strategy, okay? We're going to move all of our variable terms over to one side. So I'm going to start by subtracting 3x from both sides, the smaller of the two. 9x minus 3x is 6x. I drop down plus 4, less than or equal to 3x minus 3x is 0. I don't write that, and drop down negative 14. Now we have to get our constants to the other side. So I'll go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. I'm going to drop down 6x. 4 minus 4 is 0. We don't write that. I'm going to go ahead and drop down less than or equal to. Negative 14 minus 4 is negative 18. And so to come up with my answer, x is less than or equal to negative 3. So 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. Okay, so you can go ahead and write in divide by negative 3 if you want, or you are not required to show that step. Okay, my number line, I have negative 3 in the middle, 1 greater than, 1 less than. I have a closed circle, and it's x is less than, so I'm going to have my arrow go to the left in the less than direction. My solution is going to include my closed circle and all the values to the left. Okay, let's go ahead and try number 3. Number 3, a little bit more with my strategies. I see I have parentheses and I have an expression in parentheses, so I think I'm going to have to distribute first. So let's go ahead and do that. So 3 times negative x, and then 3 times 14. Everything else is going to get dropped down. So that'll be 5x minus 10x plus 140 is greater than 95. Now my next step, I see I have variable terms on the same side, so I'm going to combine like terms. So I have negative 5x, and then everything else is going to just get dropped down. We're going to go ahead and rewrite it. At this point, I realize I have a two-step equation, so I'm going to follow the two-step strategy to solve for x. So I'm going to move my constant terms to the other side. It's 140. And then drop down everything else. So I drop down negative 5x. 140 minus 140 is 0. We don't need to write that. Drop down my greater than symbol. And then 140 minus 95 is 45, and it's negative. Now, this last step, notice I'm dividing both sides by a negative number. So remember, only on your last step, when you multiply or divide, we are going to flip our sign for the final answer. So my final answer is x is less than 9. Okay? So let's go ahead and rewrite that number line. So I have 9, 10, and then 8. So 1 greater than, 1 less than. This time I have an open circle, my arrow to the left. Okay, now we're going to highlight the solution to this inequality. Okay, so this does not include the number 9, but it's going to include all numbers less than the number 9. That is the solution for number 3. Now you see I have number 4 circled. Number 4 we'll just do next time I see you in class, so we'll go ahead and move on to number 5. So for number 5, looking at this problem, this is a proportion. So even though it's not an equal sign, it's an inequality. We're going to solve it the same strategies with that proportion. So we're going to start by cross multiplying. So when I cross multiply, I have negative 3, and then, I have this negative out front. Remember, it's one negative, so you assign it to either the numerator or the denominator. And I'm going to go ahead and just traditionally, I'm going to do the numerator. It really ultimately does not matter, like I said, the top or the bottom, but traditionally I tend to do it to the top. Unless, I find it'll be easier to work it out with it at the bottom. That's the only time when I switch it up. So anywho, negative 3x times 15, I get negative 45x. I'm going to drop down that inequality, and then 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Okay, now let's go ahead and divide both sides by negative 45 to solve for x. Again, this is my last step solving for x, and I'm dividing, and it's a negative, so that sign's going to flip. And then my answer is going to be, negative divided by negative is positive. 20 over 45, that simplifies to 4/9. So let's go ahead and write down 4/9. I'm going to create my number line. I'm going to have 4/9 in the middle, then 5/9, and then 1 less than is 3/9. Okay, it's an open circle. It's x is greater than, so all the values greater than 4/9 is in that direction to the right. Now, highlight your solution. It does not include 4/9, but all numbers greater than 4/9. Okay. Now let's try number 6. Now for number 6, this is very similar to number 5. It is another proportion. Okay. We're going to go ahead and cross multiply on this one again. When I set up my cross multiplying, I'm going to have the expression negative x plus 3 getting multiplied by 3. Okay, so this is what that looks like. Drop down that inequality of less than or equal to, and then it's 2 times negative 8 for negative 16. Now I have parentheses, so we're going to go ahead and distribute first. So I have negative 3x plus 9 is less than or equal to negative 16. Then I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9 on both sides. And I have negative 3x is less than or equal to negative 25. So I'm just adding everything up and dropping it down. My last step, divide by negative 3. Again, I am dividing by negative number at my last step. That sign is going to flip. And so I have 8 1/3. Same thing, create that number line, have 8 1/3 in the middle. 1 less than was just number 8. 1 greater than is 8 2/3. Okay, we'll have a closed circle, all values greater than, so that's to the right, my arrow. And then this time we're going to highlight my closed circle is part of the solution, so I'm going to highlight that and everything to the right. Okay. Let's go ahead and flip this over. And so here we are, we're at number 7. So number 7, I have, again, fraction equations. And so we're going to use that same strategy as we did in our previous unit, where we are going to multiply every term by the least common denominator. So I'm going to put that equation into parentheses. Okay, you could do the whole parentheses like this, or you can kind of chop it up that way. Either way doesn't matter. Between 3 and 2, the least common denominator is 6. So I'm going to multiply 6 on both sides. So 6 times 2/3 is 4, and it's 4x. 6 times 5 is 30. Don't forget the whole numbers as well. A lot of times we forget those. Drop down your inequality. Then I'm going to have 1/2 times 6, which is 3x. 6 times 6 is 36. Okay? And now, this looks much easier to solve. We'll go ahead and subtract 3x on both sides. X plus 30 is less than or equal to 36. Okay? From here, we only have one step to solve for the variable. I'm going to subtract by 30 on both sides. Now a reminder that we are not multiplying or dividing by negative, so the sign will stay the same. Okay, so drop down that less than or equal to. And then the final answer is 6. And then my number line. 6, 7, 5, close circle. X is less than or equal to, so it's all values less than. So that's going to be to the left. Highlight your solution. It's going to include that closed circle. Okay? You see I have 8 circled. We'll do that next time I see you in class. And so the last problem that we're going to do together today is number 9. We'll do 10 next time I see you in class as well. All right, so for number 9, the story problem is 2 less than 3 times a number is less than or equal to negative 14. Okay, this is less than or equal to tells me that's where my inequality sign is going to be. Okay, and I'm just going to write that in there. I have this other less than. Okay, but since I know the other one represents the inequality, I know this one is that flip around. Okay, let's go ahead and create that inequality. So 2 less than, so it's minus 2. 3 times the number, there's that 3x minus 2, is less than or equal to negative 14. That's it. And then we just solve. So this is a 2-step equation, so the 2-step strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 on both sides. I get 3x is less than or equal to negative 12. Divide each side by 3. It's a positive. We don't need to worry about flipping. So x is less than or equal to negative 4. And create your number line. It is a closed circle, arrow to the left. Okay? So a reminder, next time I see you in class, remember to bring your highlighter. It's important, but I have plenty of extra if you need to borrow one. Just make sure that you're asking. All right, that's it for these notes. Over and out.